What's up, everyone? Welcome to NFL Pre-Lock. I'm your host today, TJ Zwarych. It is finally the NFL playoffs. I say finally, but the season kind of went by pretty quick for me this year. I feel like it kind of zipped right on by. Maybe it's because it coincided with having a baby at the same time, and so time's just been a fictional construct right now and doesn't really exist in my life. But ready to break down this little two-gamer we got today. If you have questions about the two-gamer or the six-gamer or some showdown slates, feel free to get them in. But in terms of what we're going to cover here, we're going to do the two-game slate on FanDuel and DraftKings. We're going to do your questions. If we got questions all the way up till 3:30 or 4:30, pardon me, we will keep going right up until lock. But likely will be more around 30 minutes for a pre-lock show here. Joining me, I got my guy, Tasteful Shiver Me Timbo, Tim Buell. How you doing, Tim?
Yeah, I'm doing well, TJ. This is definitely, really, really awesome weekend of football. We were just talking about it, how we wish they had done like a 3-3 or just made the, 1 6-game slate, but that how they always have to divvy it up. So, it's okay. It's all right. Two-gamer today, decent prize pools across the board on any of the slates that you play. And yeah, we'll talk about the two-gamer today, but if you have any questions about any of the other slates, feel free to pop them in chat.
Absolutely. We will be going to the RotoGrinders live stream Discord chat looking for questions. We will also be looking in the YouTube chat. YouTube, make sure you're smashing that like button. It's free content for the playoffs on a Saturday. Smash that like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of our future shows because we got lots of great stuff coming all weekend. Tim and I will be back with Will later this evening for NBA Crunch Time. And then tomorrow, Christy and I will be handling the 3-game NFL show for Sunday. And then maybe, we don't know for sure yet. It's going to depend on the prize pools. But we might be back for some NBA shows on Sunday as well, starting this week. So make sure you stay tuned because we got some great stuff. We'll have a showdown show with Davis and Chop on Monday. But for now, let's talk about this two-game slate, Tim. We'll do DraftKings first, then we'll go over to FanDuel, and we're going to look at some SimLabs. And if you want access to SimLabs, it's a great time to check out NRG Combo Lite. You get access to the SimLabs tool. It's only $19.99. You get content from your favorite analysts like us. SimLabs tool, $20, cheaper than Roth's lunch. Also, you can check out the props and pick'em package and bring that over to Splash Sports. If you haven't signed up for Splash Sports, now is still the time. Use promo code ROTO10. When you have $100 in quick picks, you'll get another $50. Maybe we can look at some Splash Sports stuff at the end here because there are a couple of prop plays I like. And also, finally, PGA is back. It's back in action, which means your favorite golf analysts are churning out content projections. Familiar faces like Notorious and SEO Cards headline our loaded PGA DFS product, which includes articles, videos, lineup HQs, SimLabs, and more. Playing multiple DFS sports, check out this sweet deal for a limited time. Get your first month of Combo Pro for $79.99. That's just $15 for more than PGA Premium and $5 more than NBA Premium. Talk about a value play. Are you doing a typical just one single entry lineup on each site today, Tim? What are you going to be playing?
Yeah, just one primary team, not playing cash games at all, just playing single entries. Probably if I was going to play cash, I would have played the 6-game slate in cash, but I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that today. I might play cash tomorrow, but I'm not playing cash on the slate.
I do actually have one lineup for the 6-game slate because that's what we decided to do for our Blitz League this week, is do the 6-man slate. And so I have to play Bo Nix. That's the quarterback they assigned me because they were feeling pretty nice. They didn't do anything too crazy, too mean like they did last week with Drew Lock. And so I'm playing one in the 6-man, but then I'm just doing a 3-entry max for Saturday today. Undecided for tomorrow because I have some stands. I have more stands, I feel like, today than I do on tomorrow's slate. Tomorrow, I feel pretty confident about running back and receiver, but QB and tight end, I'm not too sure yet. But for the Saturday slate, I'm ready to take some stands. So I'm only going 3 lineups. Let's start things off over on DraftKings. In your single entry, are you gonna eat the chalk with Lamar?
It looks like I am going to be eating the chalk with Lamar. I really debated between him and Herbert because I think Herbert's also a fantastic play when when price adjusted. Definitely. I also kind of considered the idea of playing Russell Wilson as well, but I just could not stomach that. But I don't think he's a horrible play. I'm getting to about I don't know, a little bit over the field in Sims. He's getting a little bit of positive leverage in Sims. Russell Wilson, that is, but his opto rate is quite low. Did not. I didn't even consider CJ Stroud, to be honest with you. But I mean, he can have a good game. I think eventually he can. We haven't seen very much of it this year. But really, the debate for me was Lamar and Herbert, and I ended up siding with the Lamar side.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing as well. Yesterday, I had 2 of my 3 lineups as Lamar, 1 as Herbert, but I switched it up and went all 3 Lamar for this one. I just don't really I don't see Herbert with the same type of upside, and I think Lamar should probably be about 60% owned. And I just like the way my lineups look so much better with him in there. I can play Lamar, I can play Derrick Henry together. I want to shout out Trick Myers in chat. Hit a $20,200 win in a 16-way tie on the Showdown slate last week. So great win. Shout out to you, Trick Myers. That's really, really awesome. How many lineups do you think? So if you were going, say, 20, what do you think your distribution of these quarterbacks would be on DK?
Probably 11 or 12 Lamar, and then say 5 or 6 Herbert, and then just a pinch of Russell Wilson. And then I don't think I'd play Stroud.
I before was a little more interested in getting to some Stroud, but I don't really understand the ownership he's projecting for right now. I don't get why he's so much more than Russell Wilson. So I would probably go like 10 of them Lamar Jackson, maybe 5 or 6 Herbert, and then 3 or 4 Wilson, 1 or 2 Stroud, dependent on within that range. But Lamar Jackson would definitely be the guy there. My favorite type of lineup construction today, like I mentioned, is that Baltimore onslaught. I think you can play in this 2-game slate. Yes, I don't necessarily think this is going to be a super high scoring game. I know that Pittsburgh-Baltimore games historically have been very low scoring, and now this is playoffs. It's divisional foes. These teams know each other well. Probably not going to be a super high scoring game, but I don't think the first one is going to be either. These are 2 very solid defenses. These are 2 of the teams that, if you're a betting person, have had like most of their games fall on the underside of their totals all season long. I just don't really think either of them are going to be that high scoring, and I think the team most likely to put up a ton of points is the Ravens. So my favorite core to start a lineup with is Lamar Jackson going to running back here, Derrick Henry eating the chalk there too, and then playing both tight ends for Baltimore, Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews together.
I don't mind. I don't mind that at all. I think I'm a little bit more bearish on Mark Andrews when it compared to the public. I'm prioritizing Pat Freiermuth because I know that since I am so heavy on Baltimore, I know that I want to get to a run back or 2, and I think Freiermuth is one of the better plays for Pittsburgh. Now, am I saying that it's bad to play Likely and Andrews? No, I think that's completely fine. I still think that I prefer like Will Dissly. So for me, just personally, and I think I prefer Dalton Schultz as well. So for me, just personally, I didn't really want to pay up for Mark Andrews. I ended up settling for Likely, but I don't mind that play at all.
Yeah, like when it boils down to, I mean, we'll actually, let me take it back. We'll get there when we get to tight end. Derrick Henry, Joe Mixon, both of these guys projecting for over 60% optimal rate and 60% ownership. Henry's $1,000 more expensive. Mixon is actually coming in at about 10% higher owned, 8 or 9% higher owned in projections. In your one lineup, are you playing both? Are you picking one? How are you handling that?
I'm kind of making my lineup here on the fly. I know that I'm definitely playing Derrick Henry. Now I probably going to play Joe Mixon as well, but there's other people kind of in that price range where it'd be Nico or Lad, some of these wide receivers that I also want to play. And I'm also not as confident in the Houston offense as I am the Baltimore offense. So I'm not 100% committed to Joe Mixon yet, but I am committed to Derrick Henry.
Yeah, that's exactly where I'm at as well. I have Henry in all three of my lineups. I have Mixon in one of my three lineups. I was planning originally on doing two, only ended up doing one. Kind of my favorite two builds here. What is essentially you do a Ravens onslaught. Every single player on your team is a Raven except for one Charger and one Houston player. And in the one lineup, I went Collins and Dobbins to get a little bit different. And then in the other one, I went Mixon in and McConkey, which will be chalkier, but certainly higher chance of being optimal as well. And the pricing works out very similarly there. So that's kind of how I am handling things on this slate. The other lineup, I didn't go with that formula just because I wanted to get Jaylen Warren. And so I didn't get any Mixon in that one, but I have Collins and McConkey together from the first game.
Yeah, I really do like Jaylen Warren quite a bit. Are you getting to any Justice Hill on those onslaught stacks?
No, just because for me, I like Justice Hill a little bit more when I am thinking Baltimore is going to have to come from behind. And I think the reason I like all the Baltimore receivers is because they're so darn cheap. But at running back, I think it's fine because the opportunity cost isn't that high. If Mixon fails, if one of Mixon or Henry fails, there might be nobody else over 12 points. But I would since he's so close in price to Jaylen Warren, I would just rather get up to Warren. Najee Harris isn't somebody that I would get to on this slate. Even if I were playing 20, I probably wouldn't play any Najee. It's like Derrick Henry tier of his own. In terms of priority, Joe Mixon and Jaylen Warren 2, J.K. Dobbins 3, and nobody else really of any interest. Like I'm going to be double tight end, playing two tight ends on all of my three lineups, but probably would be doing so in my all 20 lineups too.
Yeah, when I ran Sims just now, I'm getting to 52% of tight ends in the flex. So tight ends in the flex are definitely a plus EV play today. I think if I was playing 20 teams, I might get to like one or two Najee just in case, because I feel like he does have a ceiling. I do prefer Jaylen Warren straight up. I mean, he's by far the superior pass catcher out of that backfield. So, and I anticipate that Baltimore will be playing from ahead and Pittsburgh will be playing from behind. So I'm assuming there'll be some checkdowns going Warren's way. What are your thoughts on George Pickens? Because for me, he's like the ultimate GPP guy. Like everyone's seen him like complaining all over the sideline and like playing awful in their last game. And I feel like nobody's going to be playing him.
Yeah, I love that call for GPP. Is 30% optimal rate, only about 31% ownership. When we're looking at guys like Quentin Johnson and Rashad Bateman being very chalky, and then Nico Collins and Lad McConkey being ridiculously crazy chalky, I don't think there's anything wrong with going to Pickens at all in tournaments here. I didn't play him in any of my three lineups, but one of my favorite prop bets on the slate is Pickens' longest reception more than 23.5 yards, because we know he's going to get 4 or 5 deep shots today. If he's catching balls, he will have one over 23.5 yards. Mm-hmm. It just depends if they're connecting or not. We know there's going to be the opportunity is there. How would you choose if you can, like in this pairing, would you go, not that you have to do this 2v2, but if you landed on this price range, Nico Collins and J.K. Dobbins or Joe Mixon and Lad McConkey?
I'd probably go the Lad side.
Me too. And the biggest reason for it is, well, I do really love Nico Collins today. I want to play him as much as I can. The Quentin Johnson and Rashad Bateman ownership is kind of actually the stuff I'm not super excited about,
That's why I brought up. That's why I brought up Pickens.
Yeah, because like Quentin Johnson, $4,800. Yes, he had a great game last week. He's been disappointing most of the year. Like not off and on. He's been looked really good at other points in the year too. But he should probably have Derek Stingley on him pretty much the whole game, all pro corner, as McConkey just feasts in the slot. Houston is very good at shutting down outside wide receivers, and they are not good at all at they are just sieve for points in the slot. They give up so many fantasy points to the middle of the field to tight ends and slot receivers. So I think McConkey, it's going to be his day unless they decide to go, hey, that's their best corner. This is the playoffs. We're going to adjust things. Our best guy is going to follow him around. I don't really see that happening. And it's the same thing for Bateman against the Steelers. This season, the leading receivers in terms of yards for Baltimore against the Steelers in their game, it's 1 Zay Flowers, 2 Isaiah Likely, 3 Mark Andrews. The Steelers, much like Houston, do not give up many fantasy points to outside receivers. It's all to the middle of the field to tight ends and slot receivers because who's on the outside? Joey Porter. So Joey Porter is likely going to be having Rashad Bateman the whole game. And we're going to see, I think, in my opinion, my prediction is a really big game for those 2 tight ends, Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews, because they're without Zay Flowers now. I think Likely is going to be a slot receiver / they're going to run 2 tight ends the whole time. Mm-hmm. And we're going to see a ton of a ton of targets to them relative to how much they're going to be throwing the ball today. So Bateman and Johnson are my range of guys I'd be most comfortable fading. We like Pickens for tournaments. McConkey and Collins are massive priorities whenever you can get them. How are you prioritizing the cheap guys, Calvin, Austin, and below?
Yeah, I mean it's a pretty interesting range there. That 4K and below price tier. Looks like John Mechie is getting the best positive leverage in Sims out of that bunch of cheaper wide receivers. I'm getting him as 17% optimal at 8% owned. I think he's a really good pivot off of Deontay Johnson. Deontay Johnson's clearly the better wide receiver, but Mechie's probably going to be on the field more, and we really don't know what Johnson's role is going to be. They keep saying that they're going to start, feeding him the ball more, but who knows? So I think Mechie is probably a little bit safer and going to be lower owned. So that's kind of a toss up. I had Johnson in originally until I just ran this last Sims run, and I might pivot that to Mechie. If I want to go for a cheaper Baltimore wide receiver, it's definitely going to be Nelson Aguilar over Tylan Wallace. But I think if you really need the 300, Tylan Wallace is completely fine. I don't really want to play DJ Shark. I mean, he is getting some ownership, and I think there are better plays. I think Tylan Wallace is a better play. I think Nelson Aguilar is a better play. So personally, I would just stay in that Ladd, Quentin Johnson, Disley for wide receivers. And then if you wanted to do like a Darius Davis and a super large field GPP, I wouldn't have a problem with that.
Yeah, I like the Darius Davis large field call because I think I would rather him over DJ Chark. I think Chark probably plays more, but Darius Davis lower owned. We know he's going to get a couple design targets for him this game. They sometimes do it in the red zone, so I prefer him there as well. I like the Baltimore guys more than the Houston guys, I think. Mechie looks great in the Sims tool. I think Deontay Johnson, the field is going, hey, he got involved last week. They're down receivers. They're going to try and force him in this week because they need the talent. So the ownership's going there. My 2 favorites, though, are Tylan Wallace and Nelson Aguilar. I like them the best of the whole group.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate that call at all. Baltimore is clearly the premier offense on this slate. So I certainly don't mind that. I think that's completely fine in any format. Do you have a preference between the 2 cheap ones for Baltimore, between Aguilar and Wallace?
I think Wallace 1, Aguilar 2, just because Aguilar has been missing some time recently. Having said that, he's been with this team a long time. He knows the offense, and seems to have a little bit of an affinity for big plays. And so right now I have 2 Wallace and 1 Aguilar. but a lot will depend on how my lineups are looking as we get a little bit closer to that game here.
Yep, that makes sense.
All right, let's talk about the tight end position. Then we'll switch over to FanDuel. It's going to be a lot of similar thoughts over on FanDuel, but still, we'll start with tight end here on DraftKings. These are where I'm making my biggest stands. All three of my lineups are double tight end with Baltimore today. Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews. I just love this pairing. I think they're going to be the two highest scoring tight ends on the slate, two best point per dollar plays on the slate. I would even and I'd want them even on like the 6 game slate. I'd want to make sure I have one of those two in them today, because we're just without Zay Flowers. There's going to be a lot of 2 tight end sets, and there's going to be a lot of running the ball. But when there are the passes, it should be Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely all day long, with Joey Porter out there on the outside guarding Rashad Bateman. Who do you like here at tight end?
So I am making a stand, and I'm going to go Freiermuth over Mark Andrews. I certainly don't have an issue. People want to play Mark Andrews. He's obviously, probably the most talented tight end on the slate. But I am hoping that Jackson and Henry and maybe just one other wide receiver gets the action. Like, hopefully it's Isaiah Likely, because I'm playing Freiermuth to tight end and Likely at the flex. So I really don't mind Will Dissly, and I also don't mind Dalton Schultz. I think this is a pretty strong position. I think you're going to see quite a few people play double tight end today on DK. So I'm ranking Freiermuth 1, then probably Likely, and then I guess I would go Andrews next. But I'm fading Mark Andrews.
All right, defense, play whoever you want. If you can get up to Baltimore, great. If not, the Chargers are a very happy second. But you can play any of the 4 defenses on this slate, frankly.
I'd rather.
The other 2
I think, considering price, I'd rather play the Chargers.
Yeah, fair. That's I just mean, like, if you have the salary, you're probably playing the Ravens. But if not, there's nothing wrong with going back to the Chargers. There's nothing wrong at all with even going down to the Texans or Steelers. I don't think. Like, Steelers are 2,200. They could get a couple sacks if they luck into a pick. That defense is good enough, and at 2,200, I don't think there's anything wrong with that either. Let's switch over to FanDuel. Talk the quarterback position over here. It's, to me, kind of the same. Like, Lamar Jackson is the guy. The ownership looks almost the exact same on FanDuel as it does on DraftKings. It's Lamar. It's a Lamar day for me. I'm gonna eat the chalk and, in fact, just get overweight on it.
Yeah, same with me. I'm playing Lamar. I would say that I do kind of like Russell's price at 6,900, but I think this is going to be a Lamar, and we know he's got that rushing TD upside, which is absolutely humongous on FanDuel. So I'm going to eat the chalk as well. I think he's going to be really high owned in some of the higher dollar single entry stuff, but I think that's just something that we have to eat today and try to get different and take stands elsewhere. So I am with you for Lamar.
Yeah, same thing. Second choice, obviously Herbert, but I don't think there's enough of the ownership discount to make it all that viable to not play Lamar Jackson today. I saw somebody in chat talking before about Justin Herbert being like the top play for the 6 game slate. I don't know if I would be going there personally. I think for the 6 game slate, like, it's a lot of opportunity cost at quarterback with the likes of Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Jaden Daniels, Baker Mayfield. I don't think I'd be going. I don't think I'd be touching Justin Herbert on the 6 game slate, even if I were running like 20 plus lineups in that type of scenario. Let's switch over to the running back position. We are going to have a mega chalky Derrick Henry over here at 70%. I don't really get how on DraftKings Mixon is coming in higher owned in projections than Derrick Henry. They're $1,000 apart. On DraftKings, on FanDuel, Henry's coming in 8% higher owned, and he's $2,300 more.
Yeah, it's a little weird. Yeah, he's really expensive on FanDuel, but he's definitely worth it. So yeah, 9,800. That's completely fine. I ran the first blitz optimal, and Henry's not in it, which I was quite surprised by. So the blitz wants you to fade Derrick Henry. But I mean that's a terrifying fade. I'm not going to be doing that. I'm going to be playing Henry and Jackson. So I guess my next favorite would I actually don't really mind Jalen Warren at 5,600. I know that receptions are not as important on FanDuel, but at 5,600, I really like that for value. So I think he's a really strong play. I guess you could play Najee at 6K, but I just like the game script better for Jalen Warren. So and then I don't know if you have to play 3 running backs today. I don't think you really have to on this 2-game slate. I think you can still go tight end or wide receiver.
I do too. I think for running backs, I would rank them Henry 1, Mixon 2, Jalen Warren 3. I would have him up ahead of Dobbins, up ahead of Harris. Mixon is just so cheap that I do like him more on FanDuel than I do than on DraftKings. But I would probably be trying to play Henry and Mixon, especially in like a cash game setting. And then in my third one, I'd be looking at if I have the 5,600, yeah, I'll play Warren. But if I have to settle for one of the tight ends, I have no problem with that whatsoever. I'd rather get up to Warren than like a Mechie or a Calvin Austin as you get to the flex. But if you can't quite get there and you're just playing one of the tight ends, I don't think that is a problem whatsoever. Wide receiver position, this is why on FanDuel I think there actually is viability to fading Derrick Henry in GPPs. He's going to be 70+% owned, and he's so expensive. It's not point per reception. It's not, there is a 100-yard bonus on FanDuel this year. Never mind. I just still feel like at that price, there's a chance if he has 100 yards and a touchdown, 20 points might not be optimal from Derrick Henry at that price. If Nico Collins has 20, if Labaconki has 20, if Pickens gets there, I think there are ways, there are lineups that you can fade Derrick Henry today in GPPs on FanDuel. I would feel less good about it on DraftKings, though. Receivers, similar price difference here between Collins to McConkey to Pickens. It's basically like the exact same pricing tiers as on DraftKings.
Yeah, since I'm going to be playing Henry and Lamar, I think I'm going to have to fade Nico, which is it's obviously terrifying. And I'm just hoping that he has a mediocre game and doesn't score any touchdowns, because if he does, you're going to be in big trouble. So I think my most expensive wide receiver is going to have to be Ladd. I absolutely love Ladd today. So he's going to be like my spend up option at wide receiver. We've talked about Deontay Johnson. He's 5,200. Rashad Bateman, he's going to be like the optimal choice at 6K. I have absolutely no issue with that if you want to go that way. Just really depends on how many Baltimore players you want to play. So, and then I think that, I don't really know Quentin Johnson on both sites. He's the one that he's like the chalky guy that I really don't want to play, but I might end up playing, but I don't know. I'm unsure about him. He's not somebody that I really want to play on the slate, especially into a ton of ownership. So I might just stay away from Quentin Johnson.
And that's the thing. It's the into the ton of ownership part that it just doesn't for me. I don't think I'm going to be able to get there. I'm just messing around on FanDuel, and I'm looking if it's at all possible to make a team that I somewhat like in this scenario. I think if you play 100 away from being able to afford Disley in that situation. I'm 100 away from a viable lineup on FanDuel that plays Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, Joe Mixon, Collins, and McConkey all in the same lineup. You play Tylan Wallace, you play Likely, you play Steelers D. It leaves me just short that I can't afford Will Disley, but I think that was close to viable. Smart on FanDuel's behalf to probably not making that.
You could play. I mean, you could throw in just Devontae Walker.
True. Would be doable there. There are things you can do. You're just not going to like it. You're not going to like it. Tight end position, Andrews, $700 more than Schultz. He, Freiermuth, likely, Disley, all very close here together. I honestly see many scenarios in which I would pair on like my favorite pairing is still likely in Andrews. I probably want to play 2 tight ends. My favorite pairing though on FanDuel is probably 2 of Disley, likely Freiermuth, just because I think especially if you're playing Derrick Henry, you're really going to need that salary. But I would say if it's at a flex position and you're choosing like between Mark Andrews, Rashad Bateman, and Quentin Johnston, I think Mark Andrews is by far the best of those 3.
Yeah. I definitely prefer him over Johnson. I agree with you with that 100%. I think it's a little bit closer in my mind between Bateman and Andrews. But still same as DK. Freiermuth is my tight end 1 for me. And then I think likely would be my number 2. And then I do like Dalton Schultz quite a bit as well. So I don't think you really necessarily have to pay up for Andrews on either site. But I obviously, if you have the funds, you can definitely play him.
Defense, play whoever. If you can afford the Ravens, great. If not, play the Chargers. Can't afford the Chargers, that's fine. Play the Texans. Can't afford the Texans. Well, I think the Steelers provide better savings on DraftKings, so I'd rather do them there. But honestly, worst case scenario, you can play the Steelers if you have to. Let's take some questions, Tim. We got about 12 minutes left until lock. Get your questions in. Throw them in the RotoGrinders live stream Discord. Throw them in the YouTube chat as well. First question from Carolina guy. FanDuel single entry. Would you go double tight end with likely Andrews, or is that a GPP build? Carolina guy, like I see Tim already answered it. You're not super high on Andrews. We've talked about this, but FanDuel or DraftKings, that is my favorite build on this 2-game slate. That is my favorite thing to do in a single entry in a large field, regardless. It's Lamar with Henry and both of his tight ends today. Those are the first 4 guys that I am plugging into my lineups. Going over to the YouTube chat here, smash the like button, YouTube, subscribe, hit that notification bell, going all the way up to the top here to make sure that we don't miss anything. Once again, congrats to Trick Myers for his big 20K win. Tyler Durbin wanted me to type out my Feel It in the Plums play when I get the chance because he's in a crowded bar. He can't have to play with audio. So I typed it out to him before, but I'll let the people know again right now just in case they missed it. Isaiah Likely is my top play on the slate. I think he's breaking the slate. I think he has at least 80 receiving yards and a touchdown today. It's going to be a very big Isaiah Likely day. Who do you got breaking the slate today, Tim?
I think if it's not going to be, I think it's going to be Ladd.
You want Nico and Najee or Dobbins and Pickens?
I think the first one.
What do you think about John Mechie today?
I like him quite a bit, and I think he's going to be pretty good leverage off of some of those more popular low end receivers.
Yeah, last little batch ownership here very much looking like Deontay Johnson is going to be about triple or at least double the ownership of John Mechie. So definitely somebody that's looking like a strong tournament play. Mauricia wants to know who is my FanDuel single entry lock. It is Isaiah Likely. Would be playing him on every lineup on FanDuel or DraftKings today, or at least one of Andrews or Likely. Butto Jenkins thinks the Steelers are coming away with the win today. We got a few people in chat touting up DJ Chark.
Oof. Man, I can't do that.
Lugene or Luhene or Ruiz wants to know Haskins, Edwards, or Justice Hill today. Please, please, please. The answer is none of them. But if you absolutely have to, for whatever format you're doing, playing one of those guys, I think it would be Justice Hill.
I wrote him, and I went with Edwards. But
I think that would be my second choice.
Yeah, I think
we don't really know with his injuries if will it be Haskins, will it be Zeke? I guess has Zeke dressed? Do we know that yet? I'm not messing around with any of those Chargers backups, so it didn't really matter to me anyways. What do we got here? Is Damian Pierce in play? Oof, nope, don't think so.
No.
Who is your favorite defense for the 6-game slate?
For the 6-game slate, that's going to take me just a second here.
I think mine is probably the Bills.
Yeah, Bills are completely fine. Usually I don't like to go that expensive at defense, but Bills are definitely my favorite, probably spend up, and then I think the Rams would be a good spend down option.
Yeah, it looks like the Chargers, Pittsburgh, and the Rams and Denver on FanDuel are going to be the 3 teams that are super highly owned. So basically anybody but them. And then on FanDuel for the 6-gamer, let me see if there's any pricing differences over there. In the meantime, I'll look that up, and we'll see if we have another question here. Quentin Johnson or Rashad Bateman, straight up.
I'm going to go with Bateman.
Yeah, it's Bateman for me as well in that scenario. Favorite defense for the 5-gamer on FanDuel. I don't mind the Commanders at 3,600, even though I'm all aboard Tampa Bay. I like the Rams at 39. The Broncos are not very chalky here. So any of those cheaper ones, I'm totally fine with going. Calvin Austin or Deontay Johnson, DKGPP straight up. That is Calvin Austin for me. We know he's going to get some opportunities. We don't know for sure about Deontay.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's a good call.
Plus, if in the super Baltimore heavy lineups that I like playing, it's going to be, I like the idea of using Calvin Austin as a run back. That's it for questions. You got any last minute questions? Get them in. If not, we will get out of here and give you a chance to finalize your lineups here before lock. Tim, do you got anything else for the people?
No, we got NBA later, right, TJ?
Yes, sir. We got NBA later. Me, you, and Will Priester will be popping in for that one. My computer is going crazy right now because this is my laptop over here, but it's moving around the mouse on the desktop that's in front of me. Like, it's not moving it's not moving my mouse, it's moving the other mouse, and I don't know why it's doing that. And so I don't even there we go. I got it back going. Perfect. We're ready to go. We'll be back for NBA later. Smash the like button here on your way out. Thank you so much for all of the great comments today in chat. Thank you so much for supporting us all season long. We'll be back with these pre-lock shows all throughout the playoffs, so no sweat on that one. But Tim and I will be back for NBA in a few hours. Enjoy the games today. Good luck, everyone. Let's win some money. We'll see you next time. Peace.